Hello, welcome to the fourth session of module 5. In this particular module, we are going to see aerial photography, that means aerial photogrammetry, we can say, landsat imagery concepts and their applications, impact of mining, natural disaster and their mitigations. So, first of all, I would like to know what is meant by aerial photography. The photographs which are taken from the air, that is what we call it as an aerial photograph in simple. So it's a process of taking photograph of the Earth's surface from an aircraft or any flying object such as your helicopters, unmanned aerial vehicles, drones nowadays, other objects. Mounted cameras may be triggered remotely or automatically. Handheld photograph may be taken by the photographers. So these are all the simple meaning of aerial photograph. So in which we are having different angles of inclination when you are going to take the photograph. First one is vertical. So it's in this photograph what we are going to take. The photograph taken perpendicular to the ground surface with allowable tolerance of plus 30 degrees. It covers relatively smaller area and relief is not readily apparent in this particular case when you are taking vertical. So case number two, it's low oblique. So in this photographs taken with the camera inclined about 30 degree from the vertical. So it is used to study the area before an attack or substitute for an reconnaissance, to substitute for a map or to supplement a map. It covers relatively smaller area. No scale is applicable to the entire photographs and the distance can't be measured. Parallel lines on the ground are not parallel on this particular type of photograph. Therefore, direction, generally we say it as azimuth, can't be measured. Relief is discriminable or but it can be distorted. Third one is oblique. In this type of photography, the high oblique is photograph taken with this camera inclined about 60 degree from the vertical. It covers a very larger area and shows a side view. Distance and directions are not measured on this photograph for the same reason that they are not measured on the low oblique. So we are having different images of axis, vertical type, oblique type, and high oblique type of photographies. So this is one example of that in imaginary aerial photograph example, which was taken in 1998. It's an example of that. So next, let us move on to Landsat imageries. We are having different type of imageries. Particularly, we are talking only about Landsat imageries. Different satellite imageries having different purposes. Okay, so this Landsat imagery, it's a satellite used to gather images of the Earth land surface and coastal regions. So these satellites equipped with sensors that respond to Earth reflected sunlight and infrared radiations. This is about the particular information of the Landsat. The first Landsat satellite was launched in 1972. Let us know we are having all the different applications of remote sensing, GIS, GPS, and all those things. Particularly when we are talking about the Landsat imageries. So these are all the uses or applications we can say it as agriculture use, forest, vegetation cover, crop rotation, land use mapping, geological features, geomorphology, lithology, drainage, pattern studies can be done in this. Lineament, soil types, slope categories, a digital elevation model, generally we say it as DEM, digital elevation model, wasteland type studies, ground water maps, transportation network maps can also be generated with this, settlement maps, land use change detection, coastal resources, environmental impact assessment can be done with this, natural disaster monitoring, volcanic surface deposits, coral reef health, tracking of oil spills, monitoring desert blooms, minerals and petroleum resources, snow melt, runoff estimations, sea surface temperature can also be assessed with this. So this electric power transformation, wildlife habitat. So these are all the different applications of this Depending on our requirement, you are going to use this particular image, Landsat imagery. Nowadays, we have very well advanced images with more number of spectral bands, we can say that. So depending upon your type of study, we are going to take the satellite imageries of the required area. Okay, you may not, we are not in a position to take the entire area satellite imagery. For example, if we are studying only a smaller area, we want satellite imagery of that only, means we can get the smaller area satellite imagery for with different purposes. What purpose, what we are taking for satellite imagery. If you are going to provide latitude and longitude of the area, that is your study area, if you are going to get the satellite imagery, from that satellite imagery you are going to have different type of applications according to your area of interest. You can study that area. So let us move on to the impact of mining and quarrying on environment. The essential raw material for cement manufacturer is being exploited only through open cast limestone mines. We are having different type of mining activities, open cast mine as well as underground mines. So here we are talking about limestone, that is an open cast limestone mines, a low cost material. About 1.5 to 1.6 tons of limestone is required to produce 1 ton of cement. Over 2.14 km square will be undergone under mining operations every year, depending upon the thickness of the limestone. How much is the thickness of the limestone? Depending upon that. Such huge operations will not doubt they leave the impact of relief and topography, hydrological impacts, air, forestry, agriculture, wildlife, etc. However, the environmental impacts of operating the limestone mines may not be very serious in case of other such chemical fertilizers, metallurgical industries. For any mining activity, it's against the nature generally. So we are going to exploit the mineral resources of the particular mine, whether it is from the open cast mine or underground mines. We have to take lot of precautionary measures in order to avoid the environmental pollution, environmental degradation, which is having a great impact on the entire ecosystem nearby. So in that particularly, relief and landscape alterations. Mining operations blasted and excavation will change the existing topography and will cause or create a huge pits or leveling on hills and creation of waste heaps, etc. So when you are doing open cast mines, so the total area which is there, which is filled up of higher mountains with higher elevations and topographical, the overall topography of that area is different before mining activities. After the mining activities, the total topography of that area will be changed because of the mining activities. After the mining activities, we are going to come out with the residues. Whatever the metal we are interested for the mining activities, after the extraction of the particular mineral, what we are interested, the residues left after the extraction, that will big heap on the nearby mines, that will have a great impact on the total ecosystem nearby. So impact on hydrology, if we take, in some cases, mining activities may disturb the aquifer. Generally, the first impact one as far as hydrology is concerned, it's an aquifer. The groundwater flow, recharge capacity of the surrounding area, which are affected due to the change in the topography. If you are going to change the topography, the total ecosystem will be disturbed. Among that, the hydrology, hydrological part, aquifers, recharging parameters, all these things are going to get disturbed. Contamination of water, you know that limestone mining may carry fine particles of limestone dust, which may cause silting problems, but they are non-toxic. In some of the cases, we are also having toxic or hazardous waste, which are generated out of the mining activities. Surface runoff from the mine levels may however turbid during the monsoons due to seepage of or overburdened soil, etc. If you look at this picture on left hand side, the residues left after the mining activity, that is on the left hand side, that will have a great impact on the hydrological parameters which are nearby. On the right hand side, if you see that picture, people who are standing over there, the color of the water itself has got changed because of the impact of the mining activity, the whatever the chemicals which is released after the mining activity, that will have a greater impact on the total ecosystem and particularly the water bodies which are nearby. that will get disturbed because of the mining activities as far as water pollution is concerned. So now it's air pollution or dust pollution if you are going to take. Air pollution by blasting is one of the pollutant. So generally the mining activities will be having drilling operations, blasting operations will be there in that. It create a fumes, dust, vibrations, air blast, noise. So fly rocks fragments out of that. The other activities such as drilling, excavation, waste dumping will also create some dust during the mining activities. Crushing, primary crushing, secondary crushing, and tertiary crushing, different type of crushing activities will be there. That will create a lot of pollution, especially air pollution and noise pollution. They are responsible for that. So if you look at these pictures on the left hand side and on the right hand side, you can imagine that how much pollution is being added, especially as far as air pollution is concerned. If you look at that picture, so noise pollution, as far as drilling is concerned, if you look at the first left image, so drilling operations are going on, and in the second image, lot of crushing activities are going on. So noise may be defined as an unwanted sound which interferes with human communication, comforts health. The noise pollution in the limestone blasting and movement of the heavy earth moving equipments causes unbearable sound not only for humans, it also for wildlife nearby. We are taking only the limestone case. We are having a lot of mining activities in around in Karnataka, nearby environment. It is generally making a lot of problems to the environmental system. As far as Attic gold mines is concerned, if you are going to consume the silica content which is there inside the mining activity, it's an underground mining activity. If you are going to take that, if you consume that air inside the mining activity, you are going to, the silica content out of that will be inhaled inside the body, and the person may come committed to get the disease of silicosis. Silicosis is a disease which is because of the silica content in the air that will be inhaled for years together. That person is going to get the disease called the silicosis. So something like that, we are having n number of diseases which are related to air because of the air pollution, because of the water pollution, sound pollution. There are a lot of health issues which are related to mining activities, whether it is an open cast mine or underground mine. So next move on to the impact on forestry or vegetation. The mining operations carried out on hills which are usually associated with forest, vegetation will be there covered and causes its degradation. This affects the climate, rainfall, the soil erosion and causes this equilibrium. So there will be equilibrium. So that equilibrium will be going to get changed because of this particular pollution. So the terrain, so microorganisms, biotic systems, and microorganisms which are going to have a greater impact on the particular ecosystem what we are talking about. If mining operations carried out for a greater period, so that will definitely have a greater impact on forest, human health, and wildlife also. Impact on wildlife. These mining activities produce unbearable noise. It creates fumes, smoke, which are directly impacts on the existing wildlife, birds, aquatic organisms. Later, it may lead to their migration from one place to another place. Impact of human environment. So mining impact on the human environment can be both beneficial and detrimental, causing the depletion of water level, water quality, degradation of agricultural land, forest resources, climate change, depletion of the rainfall in that particular area, what we are talking about, mining activities. So these are all the different things that we have to take care. So what might be the different type of mitigations which are related to that is avoiding blasting during the night time that we can do, foggy weather which is associated with temperature in variations, smetting, stemming of the blast holes properly. So that's blast holes what we are going to create that should be well stemmed so that it can avoid some of the voice or the noise pollution can be avoided to some extent. Stemming of the blast holes properly. Avoid blasting when the wind velocity is more than 25 kilometers per hour. We have to avoid when the wind speed is too much high. Large scale trees plantation also reduces the noise and vibration levels. Can do that. Huge blasting noises can be avoided using manual rock breaking. So we can do that to some extent. Periodic maintenance of the mining trucks and machineries can reduce the fumes containing toxic gases. Dust generation can be minimized if the topsoil is completely removed before blasting. Dust volume can be reduced by spraying water, which is a very small and it's a very much necessary one. We can reduce it to some extent. Construction of concrete roads can reduce the dust generation when dumpers or trucks are moving from one area to another area. Can avoid that impact. So that is the impact of mining on environment. Now let us see some of the impacts of this reservoir on the environment. The creation of reservoir provides a habitat for wetland species, especially water birds. The reservoir can also a source of water for animals, plants, and adjoining areas, and such areas have become unnaturally dry. This can be significant environmental benefit. So then the nearby area are going to get benefit as far as reservoir is concerned. Now, impact of backwater buildup. When a free flowing river meets the dam site built up artificially what we have constructed, pressure on the backwater which can destroy the upstream ecology and cause damage of property, and backwater can also build up due to deposition of sediments. This is one of the major problems: sediments deposition and silt upstream. On the upstream we are going to have that. So this is what we call it as backwater deposits. So impact on aquatic environment or ecosystem. Construction activities, including diversions of river through a tunnel, have a major adverse impact on the an ecosystem, an aquatic ecosystem particularly. Vulnerable species which are either limited distribution or of low tolerance could become extinct even before the dam is completed. So, impact on terrestrial fauna and flora. The distribution caused by the construction activities, including this noise and movement, building of roads, extraction of stones and soil, construction of buildings, etc. So, also have a negative impact on, definitely have a negative impact on fauna and flora nearby the site, dam site. As impoundment starts, the reservoir invariably submerges large cover of forest and other ecosystem, including grasslands and wetland ecosystem, which is nearby. Next point is submergence of forest. Data was available for the forest submergence for 60 dams. On the basis of this, what they are talking about is the average forest area submerged per dam work out to be approximately 4,879 hectares. Therefore, the 1,877 dams built up between 1980s to 2000, we can imagine how much area has been submerged. Roughly 9.1 million hectares of forest has been submerged because of these type of constructional activities. Impact on the cultivated biodiversity, if you are going to talk, reservoirs also submerge productive agriculture land. It's a really a great problem actually as far as the agriculture land is concerned in the valley. So this is not only a social and economic cost, but also adversely affects on cultivated biodiversity and host of birds, insects, mammals, reptiles that have adapted to that particular ecosystem. So in many of the cases, traditional crop varieties and methods of cultivation disappeared because of this type of constructional activities in general. So let us move on to the natural disaster and their mitigations. Previously, we have discussed about the earthquake and these different types of earthquakes and classification according to the depths wise. So, okay. So what are the mitigations of that? We will see that. So you already know about what is meant by an earthquake. The sudden shaking of ground occurs due to rapid release of energy. Although earthquake may occur very occasionally, but destruction cause of loss of life and properties. The exact spot of the earthquake originates underneath the surface. That is what we call it as a focus. While the point on the surface of the earth, vertically above that, that is what we call it as an epicenter. Earthquakes occurred in different depths. Generally, it's shallow in nature, intermediate in nature, and deep in nature. Shallow means it is 70 kilometers up to, and from 70 to 300 kilometers, if the earthquake originates, that is what we call it as intermediate type of earthquakes. And it is deep seated means 300 to 700 kilometers depth beneath the surface of the earth. So, what are the mitigations of this? Light and elastic construction is required. Heavy, rigid construction with uniform depths of foundation is also one of the important point to be noted over there. One should strictly utilize the best quality materials according to the standard specifications. You already know about the different specifications, what is the quality of the materials to be used. The size of the doors and windows should be minimized. The height of the building should be kept at a single floor only. So in we have divided the earthquake area into different zones, zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. So according to that, we have to take care of the constructional activities. You also know about the tsunami, huge mass of rising water, rushed at a tremendous speed, so totally devastating the entire area nearby. Tsunami intensity is measured with the speed and height of the waves on the land, particularly. The runoff of the water on land is related to magnitude of the earthquake and may exceed 30 meters also, that means 1000 feet, for the largest tsunami. It occurs many a times in the history, caused a widespread of damage and destruction of the total life and property nearby the coastal areas, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Jakarta. So these are all the most common areas. They are going to have a greater impact regularly, keep on regularly happening in these areas, what they have identified. But we are in a position to know the recent Chennai tsunami. After that, people are very familiar with the what is meant by tsunami and its mitigations and what are the total causes and total effects of that. People are much more aware of these tsunami nowadays. So, what are the mitigations of this? So, construction of the seawalls, they are already doing it, making the floodgates and channels to divert the incoming water from the tsunami. It's a very difficult task, but we will try this. Plantation of mangroves along the coastal lines, definitely we can do this. Construction of tsunami resistant buildings. So, being a civil engineers, so we can think of how best we can construct the buildings which are earthquake resistant and tsunami resistant buildings we have to construct. That is a challenging task, and still it is a lot of work is going on related to the construction activities which can resist this type of tsunami and earthquakes. Development of tsunami detection, forecasting, and warning centers using the high technique tools. So after the Chennai attack of tsunami, so people are much more about aware of tsunami, and they are the government of India has constructed one tsunami warning station nearby that coastal areas. So next one is flood. The overflow of water from the rivers, lakes, tanks, ponds that submerges the vast area and total area, which directly impacts on the life and property. Nowadays, you are much more about aware of what is meant by floods because of the heavy rainfall in the recent times. So, what are the mitigations? Growing up of the vegetation nearby areas, terracing of the hill slopes, construction of man-made channels artificially. So, in order to avoid these floods, or to maintain a proper drainage system in order to avoid the floods. So next one is landslides. We're already aware of what is meant by landslides and the different types. So movement of the surface material from its original position, either suddenly or extremely slow conditions under the moment of gravity, hill slopes, valleys, reservoirs, such a movement of the surface rock mass, which may be a minor one or a major one, consolidated material or unconsolidated material, loose material, so may take place in any manner, in any direction, at any speed, whether it is slow movement or in rapid movement is also possible. So what are the mitigations of this? Providing adequate drainage patterns. Drainage system should be properly constructed in order to avoid these landslides. Construction of retaining walls. Retaining walls are very important depending upon the slope of that construction area. We have to provide retaining walls. So flattening of the slopes, if the slope is too steep, you have to avoid those slopes in order to reduce the slope so that we can avoid landslides. Decreasing the loads, unnecessary load should be avoided and afforestation should be continued in a well manner. So in this particular session, we are learned about lands, aerial photographs, the photographs which are taken from the air, what are the advantages of that, Landsat imageries and their concepts and their applications. So you know about all these things. So and their mitigations, natural disasters and their mitigations, tsunami, landslides and all those things. So being a civil engineer, you must be well aware of all these natural disasters and their mitigations for the better management. If you know the problem, then you are in a position to manage it well. If you don't know the problem, it's very difficult to manage. So please try to know the what are the different the natural disasters and the earthquake, the landslide, what are the different causes of that, how best we can manage all these things being a good civil engineers. So let us know some of the multiple choice question in this session. So disaster management includes options mitigation, reconstruction, rehabilitation, all of the above. You have to find the correct answer for that. Second question, the National Disaster Management Authority, NDMA, is headed by option number one, Prime Minister of India, President of India, Governor of the states, Chief Minister of the states. We are having four options in this. You have to identify the correct answer for this. So which among the following surveying method is meant to having a high precision? We are having different methods of surveying, which is more relevant or more precision. So options are aerial photogrammetry, terrestrial photogrammetry, theodolite surveying, transverse surveying. You have to identify the correct answer for that. Vertical photographs coincides with the dash, whether it is direction of the slide or direction of the lens, direction of the aperture or direction of the gravity. You have to find the correct answer for that. Next question, if the apparent horizon is shown in a photograph, it's a low oblique photograph. Whether the statement is true or false, you have to identify. Next question, flying height refers to options upper portion of the exposed station. Next option, bottom of the exposure station. Next option, a depression of the exposure station. Next option, elevation of the exposure station. You have to identify the correct one among the four. Next one is among the following which must be known for determining the scale of tilted photograph, whether it is focal length, datum height, azimuth or zenith. So to identify the correct options for this. Next question, extraction of minerals and metals from the earth is called agriculture, transportation, mining, sustainable development. You are in a better position to answer that. The human activity among the following which causes maximum environmental pollution having the regional and global impact is options are urbanization, industrialization, agriculture and mining. So to identify the correct answer for this. Next question. Agriculture activities such as tilting, harvesting, heating, ventilation, or direction or consumes of energy, air, sun, heat. You have to identify the correct option for this. Which one of the following is not the effect of modern agriculture? Not the effect of modern agriculture. Nitrate pollution, eutrophication, biomagnification, ozone depletion. You have to identify the correct answer for this. Okay, we are coming to the end of the module 5. Session 4 is being completed. So with this knowledge, you are in a better position to understand all the future aspects. Thank you. Thank you very much.